Hello, good evening, and warm welcome at the Thinking Palette platform. We have started a new initiative that is simply explained, where the focus is on to turn the complex and confused concept into clear and simple concept. Now, in this video, we will deal with Article 12. And Article 12 in the Fundamental Rights, Part 3 of the Indian Constitution, talks about the meaning of state. Now, we will look into detail about the meaning of state. Now, first of all, the question arises that why do we need to define a state? Because when you will look into the fundamental rights, then everywhere the rights which are provided to you is to protect you from the state. Therefore, a state is considered as a threat which can take your rights anytime. So I can say that a state is a demon. So basically, you will have to understand that who the state is and from whom you are being threatened and your fundamental rights are threatened. Therefore, we need to define the state. Now, the second thing is that what comes under the meaning of the state? The meaning of the state is legislative and executive organ of the state, and legislative and executive organ of the center. And the third thing is local authority. And the fourth thing that comes under the meaning of a state is other authority. However, the constitution does not define that what is the meaning of other authority. And therefore, it is being said that Article 12 defines a state in inclusive manner, not in exhaustive manner. This is important to understand. Now, the question arises that what is the meaning of local authority? The local authority has been defined by the Supreme Court in R.C. Jain case. In R.C. Jain case, Supreme Court has said that any body which has been created by a statute simply means that any body which has been created by the law, and that body must be represented by the person living in that particular region, and that person or those persons who are living in that area may be represented by nomination or by method of election. It does not matter. The only matter is that the members should be represented from that particular area. And the third thing is that the body must have the right to collect revenue, or you can say right to raise revenues. These are the three characteristics which defines that what does the meaning of a state here is. Okay, so now we will have to understand that if I ask question that whether the Delhi Development Authority comes under the meaning of a state or not, yes, Delhi Development Authority was constituted under the law, therefore it comes under the meaning of a state. And the second thing is that port trust, notified area committee, town area committee, municipal corporation, containment board, everything comes under the meaning of the state. Okay, so now what is the meaning of other authority? It is very important to understand. Now, my first question is that whether we can say university is also a kind of a state. So there is a confusion, and that confusion came to the Supreme Court in Madras University versus Santabai. In this case, Supreme Court has used the doctrine of adjustum generis. Adjustum generis, it simply means that whether the university can be said as equal to the state, because state have a sovereign power. So does the university also have sovereign power? So can we equate vehicles, or can we equate biotic materials with the abiotic factors? No, it is not possible. We cannot compare the two uncomparable things. Therefore, this concept of adjustum generis says that university is not equal to a state because the power of university and state is different. Understood? Now, the second question comes before the Supreme Court in Rajasthan Electricity Board versus Mohanla. The question was when the body is created by the law or by the constitution, whether it comes under the meaning of the state or not. Then the Supreme Court has said that if any body is created by the law, then it must enjoy enormous power. And whenever you will give power to anybody, then that power can be utilized to snatch your fundamental rights. And by this context, Supreme Court has said that anybody having power to take the fundamental rights will be considered under the meaning of other authority. Now, the third question which come before the Supreme Court in Sukhdev versus Bhagat Ram was that, for example, a body is created by the law but performing commercial function, for example, Bharat Petroleum, for example, ONGC, that whether this body will come under the meaning of the state or not because they are performing commercial function. Then again, Supreme Court has said in Sukhdev versus Bhagatram that these bodies will also come under the meaning of state. Okay. Now, this is very interesting case, and I will advise you to remember one case out of these three so that you can use in your mains examination. Now, RDCT versus International Airport Authority. Okay. Now in this case, what happened that the International Airport Authority is constituted under the Act, and the government has a right to appoint the chairman of Airport Authority, has a power to remove the chairman, and also the government have a lot of finance and the shares in the International Airport Authority. It simply means there is a deep control of the state over International Airport Authority. Now, question arises that how you will determine any body as the other authority. Then the Supreme Court has given four different factors or elements to consider that whether the body is under the meaning of other authority or under the meaning of a state or not. The Supreme Court has said that anybody where the shares of the government is of substantial amount, then it will be considered as a state. The second thing, any body or corporation performing the functions that the government performs, that also come under the meaning of the state. And where there is a deep control of the state, this is the meaning of deep control, where everything is being controlled by the state, that will also come under the meaning of state. Now, earlier some department was under the government control, and now it has been transferred to any corporation, that body will also come under the meaning of state. Now, in Som Prakash Rekhi versus Union of India, again the same parameters have been used, and Supreme Court has said that not only a statutory body but also non-statutory body, that is the agency or instrument of the state, that is instrumentality of the state, will be considered as the state. Now, any body, whether statutory or non-statutory, if it is the instrument of the state, will be considered as the part of the state under Article 12. This is the thing which you need to remember. And the same thing has been repeated in Ajay Hasia versus Khalid Mujid case. Now, the question arises that whether the extended meaning given to Article 12 is applicable while interpreting the fundamental rights only, or in the interpretation of any part of the Constitution. Now, this here you will have to understand that whenever you are going to the Supreme Court against any state that has been defined under other authority, then the Supreme Court will look into that matter only if there is a violation of fundamental rights. Therefore, the extended meaning of the state under other authority is limited to its application for the interpretation or for the violation of the fundamental rights only, not for the other parts of the Indian Constitution. Now, some of the questions we will take into that whether FCI, Food Corporation of India, Delhi Transport Corporation, comes under the meaning of the state. Now, the same parameters will be applied here, which the Supreme Court has said in R.D. Sethi case and Ajay Hasia case, that determining factor gives an impression that these two bodies comes under the meaning of a state. And this has also been created under a statute and comes under the meaning of a state. And same here, they are constituted under the state but performing commercial functions, they will also come under the meaning of a state, but NCRT and cooperative society will not come under the meaning of a state. Now, my last question to you, you can give your answer in the comment. Will the President of India is the part of the state under Article 12?